Hi folks, HR Funk here. About 5 years ago, FN told us that interest had waned in their classic P-35 high-power pistol to the point that they were going to discontinue manufacturing that handgun. And almost as soon as they made that announcement, other companies jumped in and said they were going to start producing it. A few years went by and companies like Springfield Armory and some foreign manufacturers started to produce their own version of the classic P-35 high-power pistol. Unfortunately, as we've seen some of those pistols hit the market, there have been some things that haven't quite met our expectations, and in fact, FN themselves has jumped back in with their own brand new version of the quote-unquote high power, which for various reasons I'm not tremendously fond of. And this situation has started me thinking about my own personal P-35, or at least one of my P-35s. This is my Charles Daly HP, which is a pretty classic rendition of the P-35 high-power pistol. And I've owned this pistol for several years now, probably 6, 7, 8 years, something like that. And it's been a good handgun, but the reason I was thinking about it is because I suspect there are a lot of handguns like this that are the older classic P-35 design. Back during the late 1990s, there were quite a few of these that were imported from Hungary under the FEG brand name. In fact, this particular handgun started out as a parts kit that came from FEG, and the finished assembly and manufacturing was done here in the United States, and it was actually stamped made in the USA, interestingly enough. But the reason I was thinking about this is I was wondering what might be able to be done to some of these handguns that nowadays might be relegated to the back of the safe somewhere to help modernize them and bring them a little bit more into present times, but still maintain those qualities and aspects of the classic P-35 design that we all like. And this is actually going to be the before video with this handgun. I'm going to show you a close-up of it, talk about it a little bit. I'm going to talk about what I'm going to do to this handgun, and ultimately the second half of this video will show the handgun when it comes back to me after these improvements have been made. And here's the up-close look at my Charles Daly HP. And as you can see, it's a pretty faithful rendering of the classic P-35 high-power design. And in just a moment, I'm going to tell you about all the upgrades that are going to be applied to this handgun. But I also want to let you know that all the work is going to be performed by BH Spring Solutions. And as long as the handgun in question is a faithful copy of the P-35 high power, or even a close copy as far as that goes, they can support it and they can do a lot of work that you might want done to this handgun. So if you do have one of these that is laying around somewhere languishing in the back of the safe and you would like to have some improvements done to it and some modifications and maybe bring it up to a little bit more of the modern age, there's a good chance that BH Spring Solutions is going to be able to help you. Also, if you just need some repair parts or if you're having some functioning issues or what have you, they're probably going to be able to help you out with that as well. And here's the close-up look at my Charles Daly HP. And I'm going to have a number of things done to this handgun when it gets to BH Spring Solutions. First off, I'm going to have the sights changed. The rear sight on this pistol is one that I installed myself. The one that was on here when I bought the pistol is something that was apparently installed by the former owner that I didn't care for, so I replaced it with this sight. This is an adjustable Novak rear sight. The front sight is the factory sight, and this is one of the high visibility big dot style sights, which is great for fast acquisition, but it doesn't do a lot of good things for precision accuracy. So I'm hoping to get something on there that's going to be both fast and accurate. I'm also going to have the factory barrel replaced with one of the BH Advanced barrels. And this barrel, depending on what I'm shooting out of it, has decent accuracy, and we're going to take a look at an accuracy result before this video is over. But the BH barrel has some improvements, and I'll show you one of those right now. So here is the barrel removed from the pistol, and we can see that the feed ramp on this barrel follows what I'll call the traditional P-35 design, meaning it has something of a hump in the feed ramp. And the new barrel from BH Spring Solutions will not have this hump. It has a straighter feed ramp, and while this pistol generally demonstrates pretty good reliability, that newer feed ramp design works better with hollow point ammunition, So I'll be looking forward to that. Also, this is a two-piece barrel. For anyone that's familiar with the barrels from the P-35 high power, you know that for a number of years these have been made as two separate pieces and then fused together. The barrel from BH Spring Solution is one piece, so it should be stronger, and also it should demonstrate better accuracy. So for all those reasons, I am going to swap out the old factory barrel for the new BH Spring Solutions advanced barrel. Another thing that I'm going to have done while this pistol is with BH Spring Solutions is I'm going to have them swap out the action from inside the pistol. And there's a couple of reasons for this. First off, like many of you, when I fire this handgun, I get hammer bite, and you can see there that when the hammer cycles, it pinches the skin in my hand between the hammer itself and the grip tang. When this pistol is updated, I'm going to have it outfitted with BH Spring Solutions Safety Fast system, which basically replaces the hammer, the safety, and the slide stop. And when this system is in place, the cocked action like this can be uncocked simply by pushing forward on the hammer. After that, and I'll be able to demonstrate this when the handgun comes back, swiping the safety in the normal motion causes the hammer to cock, and then the pistol can be fired. So that's something that it might sound a little bit complicated. When the pistol comes back and I can show you how it works, it actually is a very simple, very efficient system, and I like it better than the Lionheart Regulus system that I demonstrated a few videos ago. I think this is going to be a much better rendering of that same concept. Lastly, I'm going to have the factory trigger replaced with the BH Advanced trigger, which does a couple of things. First off, it should improve the trigger pull, and I should probably measure this before I send it back. The trigger on this pistol, as high powers go, is kind of gritty, kind of long, a little on the heavy side. It is definitely functional and I can fire it okay, but I'm looking forward to that improved trigger quality with the new trigger. And another thing with the BH Advanced trigger, it actually facilitates ejection of the magazine, and I'll be able to demonstrate that as well when I get the pistol back. But let's go ahead quick and measure this trigger with the Lyman trigger pull scale to see where it's breaking before it goes back with the factory trigger installed. So here we go. Let's see where this trigger is breaking. I can actually feel some creep through the gauge, breaking at 5 pounds, almost 6 ounces for that first pull, which, as high power triggers go, really isn't all that bad in terms of the weight. Let's try one more here. £5, 11.5 ounces. I might have overpulled that a little bit. Let's try one more. We'll get a 3-pull average. And again, 5 pounds, 11.8. So our average is, and I got a misreading on that, but the average is going to be a little over 5.5 pounds with this particular handgun in its current state. So again, I'll check that when the pistol comes back, and we'll look at the new trigger and how much difference that makes in the weight. Also, just in terms of trigger quality, I think if you watch closely here, you'll be able to see, you notice that movement there. I come back, I hit the stop. And there is some pre-ignition movement there. Not sure if that's visible on the video, but I can definitely feel it right there. So there is some grit in the trigger and some movement, a little bit of over travel. So I'm really looking forward to see how much difference that new trigger is going to make. Lastly, it's just going to be an overall reliability upgrade to the pistol. Currently, this pistol is fairly reliable. I don't have too many problems with it, Probably the most consistent issue that I have is a failure to eject on the last cartridge that I fire out of the magazine. So it functions or cycles fine as far as feeding and firing, but it just doesn't eject that very last one. It doesn't seem to matter what magazine I use. Now, since it's the very last cartridge that I fire, it doesn't cause too many problems, because if I drop the magazine to reload, that fired cartridge falls out with the magazine. Or if I'm done firing, then obviously I don't have a problem there either. But I'll be interested to see if they can remedy that problem. The other issue that I have with this handgun really is me inducing this, and for whatever reason it happens with this pistol, but it doesn't happen with my Browning high power. And that is, if I'm shooting with a thumbs forward grip, there are times that I will influence the slide stop here and actually cause the slide to lock open when there is still ammunition in the magazine. And I know that's something I'm causing, but with the new slide stop that is part of the Safety Fast system, I don't think I'm going to have that issue anymore. So that's going to do it for the up-close look and the discussion of upgrades that are going to be applied to this pistol. Now let's take a look at its current level of performance so I can compare that when it comes back as well. Now, as I said, one of the components that I'm going to have BH swap out when they get this pistol is the barrel. I'm going to have one of their new advanced barrels replace the factory barrel. And before that happens, I thought it would be a good idea to go out to the range and get a little bit of footage shooting this handgun and see the type of accuracy that it currently displays with the factory barrel, and also take a look at the functioning. So I went out there yesterday with this pistol, and I set up at a distance of 15 yards from the target, and I started out shooting a 5-shot group from a rest on top of bags. And the first ammunition that I used was some Sig Sauer 124 grain V-Crown jacketed hollow point ammunition, and here's how that went. Folks, I think we can pretty well call that a smoking group with the factory barrel and that 124 grain SIG V-Crown ammunition. The group is well centered in the target, and it is almost exactly 2 inches center to center from that distance of 15 yards, so I was very impressed by that accuracy. When I get the pistol back, I'm going to be testing it again with that exact same ammunition. In fact, I've got the remainder of the exact same box that I'll be able to fire to test the accuracy when it comes back. But that new BH barrel is going to have to do some work to improve on the factory accuracy, so I'll be interested to see how it does. Now, I did want to test it with one other type of ammunition, so I set up everything again, and this time I'm using 124 grain Speer Lawman full metal jacket ammunition, once again from that distance of 15 yards, and here's how that went. So I finished that first 5 shots with the Speer Lawman 124 grain FMJs, and I had a 4-shot group, as you saw, at the top of the target that was in just over an inch. Then I had 1 shot, I believe it was the first shot that I fired, that was about 3 inches away, actually 3 inches below that remaining group. And I wasn't sure if the ammunition was just that inconsistent or if I did a bad job squeezing off that first shot. I just wasn't sure. So I decided to add another 5-shot group on top of the first one and see how the entire group looked. So I set things up again, once again loaded up 5 rounds, and here's how the second try went. Okay folks, this isn't me. As much as that factory barrel liked the 124 grain SIG V-Crown ammunition, it hated the 124 grain Speer FMJs. This group from the farthest shots is just over 5 inches, about 5¼ inches. The best 7 out of the 10 shots are in about 3¼ inches. So there is a lot of room there for improvement in the accuracy with that ammunition. And just as with the V-Crown ammunition, I kept the remainder of that box so I can test it again with that new barrel when the pistol comes back and see what type of improvement we see here. And there's a lot of room for improvement. So there you go folks, that's the before version of this video. I'm going to be shipping this pistol out either today or maybe first thing tomorrow. Today is February the 14th, Valentine's Day of 2023, so we'll see how long it takes the pistol to come back. And once it gets back, we'll take a look at all the improvements and see how much difference that makes in the performance of this handgun.